So I found should we go over the video about what is it? Should we go over the video about this like black girl, or she may be black, I don't know. She's very light skinned to be black. She's like Obama black. She's like she made a Why I Left the Left video. I've never watched a Why I Left the Left video. It's like a Why I Left BuzzFeed video. It has that sort of like cultural relevance to me. I just don't care. It's really stupid. But I guess we could watch it, you know? It's Why I Left the Left, hashtag walk away. And I'm quite sure walk away is Candice Owens thing. Sources. Oh, she has sources. Okay. Wow. And very interesting. Just got back from the gym, leg day. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing. I hope you enjoyed your gym and your legs. I mean, that's cool. I mean, let's watch it. Let's watch it then. I want to put it up a little bit faster because I don't want to sit here for like the entire amount of time. Is there a Why I Left the Dirtbags thing yet? I don't know. I mean, there's some people who do that on Twitter. I've seen that. They're like, I used to watch this and that YouTuber, but then I realized they were problematic, and now I'm a better leftist. So I mean, there's like no videos of it, but well, as far as I know, if there are any videos of it, they're by like really small channels like me that I like can't really find. But let's watch it. What does she have to say? Please tell us. Why did you walk away from the Democratic plantation?
Normally post, but I feel like it is far more important and something that needed to be addressed. So a little bit about me. My name is Tori Hadley. I am 19 years old and I am a sophomore at BYU in Idaho. I major in international studies with a minor in economics, and I study human rights and advocacy. I was born.
Okay, so if we're just gonna like talk about us, hello, my name is Christian. Also, you can call me Shark 300. I went to school at the University of Louisville, studying in business. I ride a skateboard. I have 3 dogs. I collect plants, and I have a stream.
I'm raised in San Diego in a very liberal town. When I got to high school, I was very socially constructed to believe that blacks are supposed to be Democrats. Then
I don't know what that's even supposed to mean. I don't know. I grew up in New York. I'm not sure if it was very liberal. San Diego's very liberal. And I grew up in New York. I grew up a little bit in Brooklyn. But my family's in the military, so we moved around at all points in time, and I never really had like roots. You know, I don't have like crazy roots in New York, but you know, it's nice to see it every once in a while. Apparently, she grew up in San Diego, so.
High school, I was very socially constructed to believe that blacks are supposed to be Democrats.
Socially constructed to believe that blacks are supposed to be Democrats. I have no clue what that's supposed to mean. I'm not sure if she's going to dig into it. For me, my family never really talked about politics that much. I mean, my parents are just your average black liberal, you know, just we don't like racism. Let us make money and don't like crush our dreams. sort of like that's their like understanding, and that's how they like see the world through it, right? You know, so I mean, I don't know.
Then I got to college and everything changed. I started digging deep, was actually being immersed in politics, and I was able to really formulate my own opinion based on facts.
I hate when conservatives say this sort of thing. I was indoctrinated, okay? I was brainwashed, and then I got to college, and I was able to see facts and logic, and now I'm a based red-pilled conservative. Listen, okay? Facts and logic don't make you a conservative. They don't. The absence of facts and logic makes you conservative. That's why conservatives are conservatives. It's feelings over facts. And you'll see in a lot of conservative arguments, it's feelings over facts. And I highly, highly doubt that there are going to be any real facts that can back up her being a conservative in this video, especially with her being black. And the really funny thing is when like white conservatives hold up black conservatives, like, hey, look what I found. Look what I found walking around my yard the other day. It's a black conservative. They say the same things that I do. But now they can say it with their black mouth. And I'm like, well, that's good. And that's supposed to be some sort of like massive slam dunk. I'm sorry, like 5% of the black population in this country who are registered voters, vote for vote for Republicans. There's a reason why. Okay? Just because you found someone who can say, who's like who's for some reason dumber than you makes them like cool. I mean, no. Like my part of LA County has a large buildings and military industrial complex contractors. Not many people being that open trans, like one gay bar and LGBT center in your area. I mean, I don't think there were any here. We had a rainbow club in my high school where like the gay kids and the LGBT kids like hung out. It was interesting. I didn't care for it much though.
And realized that I had been lied to and tricked my entire life. I have to tell you guys a secret that's probably going to offend a lot of you and probably confuse most of you too. I'm a Republican. Black people are.
Ew. Yikes. This ain't it, Chief. Oof. Ow. My heart, my lib heart. No. I mean, I don't know. It's like, okay, I hate the, did I trigger you? Sort of like right-wing sort of idea of the world. Nah, dog, you're just dumb.
Aren't Republicans, Tori? Well, I am. I know being a Republican is very offensive today and punishable by being canceled. Before you dislike this video and unsubscribe and comment about how much you hate me, how I'm racist, and thrust my name down there.
What is this even about? Does this person even have an active YouTube channel? This came out the 25th. They have 10,000 subscribers. And they have one video. It's this video. They're talking like they had a YouTube channel. This person doesn't have a YouTube channel. They have one video. They have an Instagram. They have 5,000 followers. Okay. What is this even what is this free thinker? Cringe. Okay. Sounds about right. She's talking like she has a YouTube channel.
Watch the video, and then you can do whatever you want. Unsubscribe, dislike it. I don't care, but just watch the video. When we think of equality and freedom, people tend to associate that with the Democratic Party, which in reality is completely wrong.
How do you get 10K actual subscribers from one video? By pandering to conservatives. Conservatives pay a lot of money. Conservatives do terminally online conservatives are very, very active. Okay, that's why you can have like even reasonably small conservative channels have a very active beehive that if you kick it, the bees will come. All right, these people, they will support anything that will further their goals. And that's what makes them so politically effective. This person came out with one video and talked like they had a whole YouTube channel and I don't know, and did the hashtag walk away thing, got almost 200,000 views with a like 90% like to dislike ratio and 5,000 comments is because they'll support anything that furthers their goals. Anything. And this person's doing exactly that. More videos with darker skin tone people regurgitating dumb conservative talking points makes their garbage ideals seem more palatable to the general public. And that's why they keep doing it. And that's why they're honestly a little bit more effective than lots of people on the left.
Ever since it was founded in 1829, the Democratic Party has fought against every free major civil rights act. The Democratic Party defended slavery, started the Civil War, opposed Reconstruction, and founded the Ku Klux Klan. But that's not something you will learn in school because guess what? Liberals run the education system.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Okay, so lots and lots of people will try to, let's big screen this, okay? Because I want to talk about this for a second. When it comes to like the politics of the past, lots of people love to think in the same way that we think of politics today, where it's like a big team sport thing, okay? If you look at like the voting patterns of lots of places in the United States, post Civil War, like presidential voting maps, where like the whole map will be red and then the whole map will be blue, that sort of thing. That doesn't happen nowadays. There are lots of people are very dug into their political ideas and very into camps like they weren't before. They're not, well, for the purposes of how we're talking about, we're going to call them left. Because compared to the right, I'd much rather be voting for them. They're closest to left. It wasn't like that. It was much more, if you look back at voting patterns, they're far more regional than they were actually ideological, because people just kind of voted for whoever their parents voted for, whoever their grandpappy voted for, that kind of thing, right? So you'll look and the Democrats from the South voted the same exact way that the Republicans from the South did. Okay, it's not like if you get like a Democrat from the South, that they'll just like act like a Democrat from the North. They absolutely did not. The political parties meant a little bit less than they do now, and people held a little bit less, well, a lot less to those like strict ideas of like the party platform that they did like in the past. That's why you're able to get the whole country voting red and the whole country voting blue in the past. That's why you're able to do this, and Republicans don't want to think about that because it makes them realize that they're that this sort of talking point, the story, the weave that they're trying to the web that they're trying to weave here isn't as strong as they think it is.
Republican Party was founded in 1854 as an anti-slavery party. I'm gonna say that again for the people in the back: anti-slavery party, and their mission was to abolish slavery completely in the Western Territories.
This is true. I mean, these are facts. They don't back up her claim that conservatives are good or Republicans are good, but it is true. Republicans were founded by with abolitionism in mind, with black people in mind. The first black people in Congress ever, in the federal Congress, were Republicans. That's true. It doesn't help her case, but it's true.
7 Democratic justices voted in favor of slavery, and 2 Republican justices opposed it. And this leads us to the Civil War in 1861 to 1865. Do you guys remember that great commander-in-chief that freed the slaves? Abraham Lincoln. Guess what? He was a Republican. And 6 days after...
Why does she say that like nobody knows that? I'd honestly be shocked and appalled if I walked the streets and asked 10 like grown adults, well, what party was Abraham Lincoln from, Republican or Democrat, that like at least most of them couldn't answer correctly that he's a Republican. We know this to be true, but you know what? You know who were Democrats? Theodore Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson. Who else? I said Teddy Roosevelt. FDR. Those are all Democrats as well. Doesn't really back up her claim as much as she thinks it does.
After the Confederate Army surrendered, John Wilkes Booth, a Democrat, assassinated him. Vice President Lyndon Johnson assumed the position as president, and he was a Democrat. Luckily, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were still passed because of universal Republican support. And because of...
I'm not even sure if that's true. Like universal Republican support. We get very little universal anything support, even back then. And like I said, it was regional. If you look back at the voting rolls when it came to... the Civil Rights Act of 1964, when you go like at the congressmen and the senators and the House members for how they voted, yes, more Republicans voted for the Civil Rights Act, but it's because there were more Republicans from the North. It was North versus South, not Republicans versus Democrats, because they don't want to talk about that though. 13th Amendment should have had the punishment for crime for a crime exception. We still like technically have slavery, but you know we won't talk about that. That's a story for another day.
Of this, 22 black Republicans were able to serve in the U.S. Congress. Democrats didn't elect any black people in Congress until 1935. So this Reconstruction occurred from 1865 to 1877. That's because federal troops came in to grant blacks power. After they left, Democrats took back their power in the South. White supremacy was reestablished, and laws were put in place to restrict blacks once again. Black codes, poll taxes, and literacy tests all used to subvert black citizens. And this was all done by fear and terror from the Ku Klux Klan. And the founder of the KKK was Nathan Bedford Forrest, who, lo and behold, was a Democrat.
I mean, while that's true, she's leaving out some very important facts. The Ku Klux Klan flexed their power. The Ku Klux Klan, especially back in the early 1900s, was an extremely massive organization. And they did do a lot of dealings in the Democratic Party, but they did a whole lot of dealings in the Republican Party as well. Lots of conservatives try to like Photoshop like pictures of the Ku Klux Klan holding up pictures like for Democrats. I mean, I think almost all of them are fake, if not all of them are fake. The Ku Klux Klan flexed their power in both Democratic and Republican elections very often in the early 1900s, because like 10% of the American population was part of the Ku Klux Klan back then. It was really big, and they did a lot of work, a lot of horrible work, but they did a lot of work. So once again, not really helping her point, but okay.
Eric Foner, who himself is a Democrat, said, in effect, the Klan was a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party. Really? What makes you say that? That's so odd. Wow. Then the only opposition that came to the landmark Civil Rights Act in 1964 came from the Democrats. But the Republicans were the...
Wrong. That's not true. It was regional. There are a fair number of Republicans that voted against or did not vote for the Civil Rights Act. It's because they were from the South. Okay, it's because they're from the South. And she also skipped over something really important, okay? She skipped over something really important. She missed the whole part of why black people in mass started voting for Democrats in the first place. And it harkens back to a little old story it's a little thing. A couple Americans know it. It's pretty underground. It's called the Great Depression. It's called the Great Depression. Wilson! It's called the Great Depression, caused by a Republican president. Who was it? Coolidge? Calvin Coolidge, who did laissez-faire garbage. It was someone, I think. And then FDR stepped in with his economic populism, with the New Deal, with with World War I as well, helping drag the economy back from the brink. And that's what brought a lot of black people from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. And going into the future, about till 1964, I think even in still 1964, only about 2/3 of black people were voting, were registered Democrats, and 1/3 were registered as Republicans. So still, honestly, pretty big for back in the day, but a split that you very much don't see today, and is very much not like, the split that you see today, which is 90 plus to 8 or something along those lines. That's the reason why black people started voting for the Democrats in mass originally. That and the Great Migration went in, where lots of black people left the South, which left the South to be way more to still be way more conservative. I don't know why she skipped over that. Maybe it's because it doesn't help her out too much, but we'll let her go. Go on, girl. Say your thing.
The ones that were able to get the extra votes to get this law passed and truly free black people in America and end segregation. So
it was actually Kennedy and LBJ who were Kennedy who started it, who was whipping the votes extremely hard before he passed, and then LBJ who continued Kennedy's work to get the 1964 Civil Rights Act passed, and both of those people were Democrats. Like, okay.
The Democrats' efforts failed to enslave black people. They had to come up with a new tactic. Since black people are now able to vote, they might as well get them to vote Democrat.
Wait a minute.
Here is the irony of it all. President Lyndon B. Johnson, who was in the House from 1963 to 1969, had this to say about the Civil Rights Act.
I'll have those N-words voting Democratic for the next 200 years. Wow, now I know why they like this, because she's bringing out all the garbage, like false stops. LBJ did have some pretty bad things to say about wasn't like the most non-racist person in the room, as Trump would like to say. He was like not the most non-racist person he knows, probably. Okay, this is true. While this is true, this quote has not been verified by any primary source ever. From my understanding and how historians treat it, it's a completely made up line that people use to make him look bad. There are many more lines that you can use to make him look bad that he actually said, but this is just not a line that's real. The real home of racism is Democratic Party. Okay.
Go ahead and read it. I'm not gonna say it. This is a quote from Carol Swain. Democratic Party prospers on the votes of the very people it has spent much of its history oppressing. Democrats falsely claim that the Republican Party is the villain, when in reality, it's the failed policies of the Democratic Party that have kept the blacks down.
It was all a lie.
But Tori, all of this was years ago. The Democratic Party has changed. Well, no. Don't get me wrong. I have tons of friends and family members that are Democrats, and they are good people.
I'd love to see her explain to me why black people should be voting for Republicans in any way, shape, or form. Please tell me.
But the ideologies they support are not helping the black community. These are statistics that I found from Candice Owens that get no coverage.
Candice Owens, I knew it, dude. I knew for a fact that this chick watched Candice Owens. You have to be this dumb.
That are very disturbing that do not get talked about. 75% of black boys in California don't meet state reading requirements.
Wait, in California don't meet state reading requirements. Okay. What does that have to do with Democrats? Okay, very interesting.
2016, in inner cities like Baltimore, within 5 schools, none of the students were found to be proficient in math or reading. The single mother
Okay.
motherhood rate in Black communities was at 23% in the
This doesn't even have.
1960s and is at 74% today.
Well, that just trends with. Well, I've seen this. I've seen those statistics too. Those just trend with the single motherhood rate rising for every demographic. It's just more for black people because they were starting off from a poor footing in the first place.
More Black babies are aborted than born in New York City.
Okay, so this one as well is just really dumb. All right. Me personally, when it comes to abortion, I don't want to be a part of an abortion. If I accidentally got a girl pregnant, I wouldn't push for her to get an abortion. I wouldn't want to have one. If I could not take care of the kid, I would give them up for adoption, but I'm not sure if I could bring myself to say yes to aborting it. Okay, that's just me personally. Even though I believe that abortion should be legalized, and I have a very strong stance when it comes to people who can't and don't want to taking care of children. I don't know how many parents that you've seen in the world. Think for a second. Think of your friends. Think of people you've known in your life back in high school, back in elementary school, with garbage parents who, in a just world, would not have kids. Okay, like in a fair, just world, they would be ripped away from their children quicker than you can blink your eye. Okay, because they cannot take care of them. They are not emotionally, financially, or like morally ready, like capable even to start to take care of like children at all. They just can't. I don't know why lots of conservatives harp on the well. I see Shark is talking about me. Yep. Hey, buddy. I don't know why conservatives harp so much on the idea that people who are not mentally, financially, or morally ready to take care of children should be saddled with children. Do not. If you're not ready to take care of kids, don't. She just talked about the single motherhood rate. The single motherhood rate would be way higher if those abortions did not happen. And while me personally, I'm personally against them, I feel like if you have no way of taking care of a kid, you shouldn't have a kid. If you can't take care of a kid, you shouldn't have a kid. If you don't want a kid, you shouldn't have a kid. You shouldn't have a kid. You shouldn't have a kid. You shouldn't. Don't. That kid didn't ask to be born. And if your life is so messed up that you're accidentally having a kid, for one, and two, you feel obligated to take care of it because the societal pressures and like the economic pressures societal pressures for say you, for one, can't abort the kid, and two, can't adopt the kid out. Guess what happens to that kid? Single motherhood rate is one of the leading predictors for like crime in a failed life. Dude, like, what are you talking about? Even if you're not like pro-abortion, you can't sit here and say that. And also just throwing out these stats randomly. Some of them were about some black people doing poorly in some Democratic states, and some of them were just doing just stats about black people in general, just like around the country that has nothing to do with Democratic majority states. I don't even know what this person is talking about. How can you string together such spaghetti noodle strands of ideas into some like amalgamation Frankenstein's monster sort of talking point that this person's trying to like string together with her sub-fridge temp IQ? I don't get it. I honestly don't understand how they could actually make this video, think of things to say. I would imagine they have a script, record the video, edit the video, upload the video, and maybe watch the video one or two times after it's been uploaded and still think that they made good claims. It's honestly incredible to me. The conservative mind is able to look through anything to make themselves look good. It's honestly a feat of like superhuman ability. The cognitive dissonance, the mental gymnastics here is honestly something that would get a 10 from Australia and Japan at the Olympics.
Whether you are pro-life or pro-choice, it is evident that Planned Parenthood is targeting Black women. But that's not something you'll hear on the media.
Planned Parenthood is not targeting Black women. Planned Parenthood is not targeting Black women. If anything, they're targeting people who shouldn't have kids, which are majority poor people. One of the leading predictors of whether or not you're going to have an abortion is your economic status, if you're poor, your marital status, if you're single. And we all know that more Black people are likely to be poor, impoverished, and more Black people are likely to be single and have children out of wedlock. We know these two things are to be true. So the top two reasons for why people have an abortion in this country are very prevalent among black people in this country. Of course, lots of black people are going to have abortions. What are you talking about? And honestly, if they can't take care of the kids, they probably should.
Media because it doesn't fit the left's agenda. And these issues were all because of Democratic policies put in place to protect us.
You ever think about how these people love to they talk about how the left likes to politicize literally everything, but everything that comes out of this, like, these people's mouths are just like the democratic policies. Look at the left, the crazy left, like, with everything, politicize literally everything and not talk about it as like an American problem. But like the other side's problem is their problem. There are lots of Republicans who facilitated lots of terrible things in this country, especially when it comes to like segregation, slavery, race issues. It's not just a Democratic issue. It's certainly not a Democratic issue today. It's an American issue. But they don't want to. But once it comes to like dealing with the problems and where the buck stops, that's when we can start splitting hairs on whose problems are who.
But that protection was just disguised as oppression. And this is where you have to be very perceptive of the media you're being fed every single day. It comes in a form of fear constructed by the left. These politicians.
It's really funny how like conservatives are high on their own farts when it comes to like the race war and the culture war and the civil war, the second civil war these days when it comes to these protests, and then they're going to talk about the left, how they've been fear mongering. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Use these terrible crimes that happen to innocent people as ways to gain the black vote. It's happened before from the Democratic Party. Fear tactics were used by the KKK to suppress us in the past. Why is this new news?
So when it comes to this, when it comes to like the racial like background and like racialized voting when it comes to this country, conservatives love to spin a weave, and it's a weave that you'll see every single time they talk about these issues. PragerU went through the same route. This person's going to go through the same route. Candice Owens goes through the same route. It's the same route every single time. And it's a very easy route and it's a very dumb route. It's very easy to make your point for people who aren't smart enough to debunk their points, but for anybody who has any auxiliary knowledge into any of these things can easily disprove anything that this person's saying. So the weave that they spin is that the Democrats have been bad for their entire existence, and this is why the Democrats are bad today. Look, remember Penny Boy? Remember the guy on the penny? He was a Republican. Remember the Civil Rights Act? Mostly Republicans voted for it. Would you look at that? What I think was really interesting when it comes to this weave, right? The story that they spin. They really love the beginning of the story, okay? It's almost the opposite of a AAA movie. They love the beginning of the story. You know, it starts off with them being the heroes and the victors, and as it further goes on, they start to their like moral high ground starts to fade away, and then it just abruptly stops. The story always stops at the Civil Rights Act. It always stops at the Civil Rights Act. And then after that, they have to pull out these like random statistics about like how black people are doing here and there, and then try and tie it back to Republicans, because they have to stop the story there because they don't like how the story continues. With North Carolina, the Republicans, a highly Republican controlled state, surgically targeting black people, trying to make sure that they don't get to vote. Lots of conservative states now in Florida, with who's like actually put back poll taxes. They brought back poll taxes. In a lot of areas when it comes to voting, lots of conservatives trying to roll back, who don't care about like a Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, would love to remove that. When it comes to like the Baker, remember the Baker, Republicans would, and in blink of an eye, if it's not gay people, they'll drop that on black people too. Yeah, let's kick out black people from my freaking Mexican restaurant owned by white people. You know, this is a freaking let's just do it. The government shouldn't interfere. Okay. What party do the Ku Klux Klan affiliate with now? What party do lots of prominent white nationalists, white separatists, white supremacists, what do they affiliate now? It's definitely not the Democratic Party. What party did the first at least half black president put into office? It wasn't the Republican Party. Who's pushing for more civil rights now? Isn't the Republican Party. It's really interesting how they love this. They love this story, but they hate how it ends.
Make us feel afraid, make us feel oppressed, and make us feel like we don't have a place in this country. And they mock the very existence of our ancestors that bled and died so we could stand here today and be free. And how do we react when they use these fear tactics every 4 years to get our vote? We allow them to make us feel like victims. Exactly what the left wants. They swoon in and promise that they can save us as long as we vote for them. But that protection was just disguised as oppression.
I don't understand. Listen, the only way that she would be able to make her point anywhere near salient, logical, and just not brain dead would be to show statistics that black people do better under Republican governments, Republican controlled governments, Republican controlled legislatures, Republican heavy districts than they do in Democratic heavy states, municipalities, districts, etc. She'd have to provide any data to get anywhere near close to what she's trying to pull together, and she can't. Okay, some of the poorest counties in this country are black majority, like 60%, 70% plus black majority counties in like Mississippi and Alabama. I wonder why that is, which, mind you, are very Republican heavy districts. Okay. Well, not the districts themselves, but Republican heavy counties and Republican heavy states. Okay. If you look at the places where black people's income is the highest in the country, I think 9 out of 10 of them are from heavily democratically controlled areas. Okay. Black people are always doing better under Democrats than they do under Republicans. Today, I wonder why that is. I wonder why she doesn't talk about that in her story, in her web that she weaves. Why she doesn't cap it off like that? It's because she can't. It completely blows her ideology out of the water because it's not salient. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense.
The left does not care about black people. They care about votes.
Structure of the Negro community is controlled by the white liberal.
Let's take Hillary Clinton, for example. A white liberal who knows absolutely nothing about black history, claims she keeps hot sauce in her purse, and has a Beyonce concert.
Who usually poses as the friend.
I think she's actually trying to just get our vote, guys. And then we have Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe. He said something along the lines of, if you have a problem figuring out whether or not to vote for me or Trump, you ain't black. Wow, Joe, you have my vote. Please don't take my black card. We got it.
Well, I mean, he doesn't really need your vote because most black people are going to vote for him anyways, because then they don't want to vote for Trump. Donald Trump. Hey, what do you got to lose? I mean, at the very least, if you're going to go that route, at least the Democrats pretend to care. The Republicans just don't care. What do you got to lose? Come on now.
Obama. With his 8 years in office, 13 million more people were on food stamps, and 8 million more people were living in poverty. But it's okay because he's black and he understands us, right? And
No. Did she forget the whole thing? Like there's a little small thing, the 2008 recession. Did she forget about that? She's old enough to remember, isn't she? I think so, at least. The Great Recession, which was only superseded, but with how much damage it did to the American economy as the Great Depression. Like, did she forget about that part? Did she forget about that? She doesn't want to talk about the whole Great Depression that happened, Great Recession that happened before Obama was even in office, and whose effects were rippling through the economy before he was able to pass like a single piece of legislation. Really? Obama has a lot of issues, okay? I'll be the first here to criticize Barack Obama. But what he was able to pull the United States out of the Great Recession with reasonable effectiveness. Okay, lots of people are still suffering the effects of the Great Recession. It isn't all his fault. I would honestly say the vast majority of the problems that they're experiencing when it comes to the Great Recession isn't Obama's fault. Okay, it was Bush, a Republican. And the really important thing is that when it comes to the transitions of power in the presidency, the first bit of things that go on during the presidency has almost nothing to do with the president. And the last bit has a lot to do because they've been in office most likely for 8 years. Okay. Things that are going on under their reign probably has a lot to do with them. And this happens through every single presidency. But what they'll do with Obama is they'll say, look, So many jobs were lost under Obama. The economy was so bad under Obama, and completely forget about the whole Great Recession. And then they'll look at Trump and they'll say, wow, job numbers are so great under Trump. Trump did so much work, even though he didn't pass like a single piece of legislation that helps like the working class. Like not a single. He's been like the worst president when it comes to legislation in like a century. And they're gonna say that he's been doing so much work from the black community. I don't know. That's about all that I want to watch from this video. There's not much more that she's going to say that's anything worth responding to. This is really dumb. There's a real reason why black people vote in mass for Democrats, and it's not because they're like brainwashed and scared. It's because they have the inkling, like a tiniest bit of idea that their best ideals don't lie in the Republican Party. And the Republicans have not shown that they care about appealing to black people at all.